My story is interesting and probably different than a lot of people in the church that I've spoken with for sure, in that I never knew who Jesus Christ was. I was not a Christian growing up. I did not come from a Christian family at all. We did not go to church ever. There was no Christmas church attendance. There was no Easter church attendance. Uh, our family was not interested in God at all. So my childhood was pretty unorthodox and pretty rough as well. I was a child that was unexpected. My mother was 16 when I was born, so I grew up in a rough part of town. Had some rough challenges through that, and those times were tough for all of us, and certainly I wouldn't say that I would want people to go through tough times. As I look through the lens of time, I realized the value of being on the road that I was on. When you look at conversions in Christ, there are several examples, and some have a road to Damascus experience like Paul, where there's a Shazam and Christ is very obvious and very much in your life. And then there's others that are more like mine, more like on the road to Emmaus, where I'm walking with Christ for a while and not really realizing it's Him, not realize what He's doing, not realizing the things that are happening until there is that moment. And that is really what my conversion was like. It was like being on the road to Emmaus, walking with the Master for years and really not realizing it. Not until it was his time to say, this is the time, this is who I am, and this is what you need to do. And He put people in my life for probably about 10 years for that to occur. So pretty difficult childhood, and I was attracted to the military out of high school and went into the Marine Corps, and really started having some success and some pride in my life. The soft, gentle voice of God began to speak to me then, and I didn't realize. It's not until you look back at times that you realize God was with you. And there was some worship services that I went to for the first time in my life because some friends that was in the Marine Corps with encouraged me to go, and I was curiously interested. I wasn't even sure why. And then years would go by, and I would be talking with somebody, and they would talk about their faith and talk about Jesus Christ, and I was not overly enthusiastic and attracted to it at the moment, but these seeds where one came and planted, another came and watered, another came and tended, as the parable is told, was obvious as I look back at my life. And then I left the Marine Corps, still not a Christian, still not knowing who Jesus Christ was, and got into police work pretty quickly, more just because of my own interests. At this time, I had no idea that God was guiding some of these moves and directing a lot of the things that were happening. And spent several years as a police officer, and so I have a very vivid recollection of what life is like apart from faith in God, apart from the justification of Jesus Christ. I mean, it's very, very memorable to me. The idea that this world is all that you have, and really the pursuits of the world, and to not think about anything else, now to me is it's hard to believe that really was me. It's hard to look at people that are there, and you want to just scream out to them, there's so much more than this. So those are some of the points of my testimony that that I think are important to know. It'll give some perspective to where I am now and where I've come from. So in my late 20s, very late, God once again put some people in my life, and a couple of people I don't even know what their names are. And I was actually at the gym working out, which I was interested in fitness, and there was an acquaintance of mine, I don't even know what his name was, just a gym guy, and he and I were talking about church, or he was very much talking about his faith with me, and I remember it becoming more interesting to me and more curious, and what was really happening is I was on that road to Emmaus, and the Master was getting ready to reveal himself to me. So I met some other men along the way, and some friends through some other friends, and ended up going to a local church here in Grove City, and heard the gospel. And man, it all started to come together. It started to make a lot of sense. And I was baptized here in a church in Grove City as an adult, and my life really took off. I took off running in the faith for many years from that point. And it is amazing as you talk about it, and I've talked about this several times. This story is something that I've shared, and it's helped people along with their faith journey. But even as I talk about it again, and I share it for the 10th or 12th time, it's still pretty amazing. It's still a very supernatural experience, and I hope that every time that I do get to share it, that maybe somebody will listen, and they'll think, even though you've been apart from God, or you don't know who He is, He may be working in your life, and maybe you don't realize. Maybe it's time to listen a little closer.